Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a little bit special because we are doing something new in this video. Today I have someone really special with me in the video. She is the first female maritime pilot of India, and today we will know everything about her life, her struggles, how she managed to reach where she is today, and everything about her life. So let's welcome Reshma Nilofer, the first maritime pilot of India who is a female, and she has done wonders in the field. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining. So ma'am, my first question is, why did you join shipping?
I've been asked this question very often, but you won't believe me, but this is the truth, that I did not plan to be in this field. I had no shipping in my mind as a kid or as a grown-up. It just happened by chance, and things just came together as if this was meant to be for me, you know. So completely by chance I came to shipping. When I was as a kid, I had wanted to be a doctor, just like many other kids those days. And as I grew up, I thought that I wanted to do an offbeat career. And an offbeat career which does not burn a hole in my parents' pockets, you know, where I'm not burdening them, and I can get a good scholarship and things like that. So I was on the lookout for an offbeat career as such. I mean, I did not know shipping as a career at that time, but a newspaper ad came to the rescue. There was a fully sponsored course advertised by the Danish shipping giant AP Moller and Maersk then. So they had said something like, we will sponsor the whole thing for you. All you have to do is just come and study, and placement will be on board our ships. What could a kid coming out of college, coming out of school need at that time? You know? Everything is sponsored, placement is secure, job is on... they have some of the biggest, largest container ships, and they even had VLCCs and ULCCs at that time. So this was a shipping giant who was calling us. Like it sounded like sweet music. I did not think about it even twice. I immediately applied, and at that time all we knew about ships was what was shown in Titanic probably, and I imagined big beautiful cruise ships like Titanic with, very full of craftsmanship and beauty around it, and all I imagined was all these cruise ships, and I immediately applied. But then eventually when I did go into the college, and just before going to the college, I also had a friend of my mom's. This uncle had told me that his son was sailing on board ships, on bulk carriers, and he told me, if my son can do it, you can do it too. Why don't you apply, and don't have second thoughts, just go ahead, go for it. So that's how I'm here. Nothing planned.
Thank you so much for answering that. It was really interesting. Now, a very basic question that a lot of people might ask, that how to become a maritime pilot in India. I mean, you can start from the basic.
Yes, again, very interesting but common question. But then I'm glad you asked this question, because a lot of people still ask me that, the moment I say that I'm a pilot, people ask me, oh, which aircraft do you pilot, and which airlines do you work with? So it's a very unspoken, not very well established sort of a career. A lot of people still don't know what maritime pilots do. So so to become a maritime pilot, you need to have done I'll start from the beginning, like from the basic. You need to have physics, chemistry, math in your class 10, class 12, 10 plus 2, you need to have physics, chemistry and math, and a minimum aggregate of 60% in all the 3 subjects. And then you would go to the college and do a BSc Nautical Science, or you would do a pre-sea and go on board and finally get your second mate's license. Second mate's license, then chief mate's license, then a master's license. Now, after you have a master's license, it does not matter if you have command. It's not mandatory to have master's, to have command, but it is mandatory in 99.9% Indian ports that you have a master's license. That is, you need to become captain, as in you need to have a captain's license, but you don't need command experience, but you need 3 to 5 years of rank experience as the chief mate of a ship. 3 to 5 years minimum rank experience as a mate. So once you have these credentials, you can apply for any port in India which is advertising. Whenever they advertise, you have to be on the lookout for it. When they advertise, you apply for the post as a trainee pilot. Usually training period varies somewhere between 6 to 8 months for most ports, and then you can qualify as a pilot in these ports. Now, specifically in Calcutta port, the whole scenario is different. For a master mariner or a captain with a master's license, again, no need command, not necessary, not mandatory. But if you have a master's license, you will have to train for about 2 years to become a pilot here. And if you had a mate's license, about 3 years. And if you had a second mate's license, or if you were a fresh BSc Nautical Science pass out from a college, you could also apply. But second mates and fresh pass outs from college, you have to do a training of about 4.5 years or so. So this is the usual chart for becoming a pilot. So, but personally, if you ask me, I would suggest do not leave shipping or sailing before you get to that master's license. Somehow pull on, go all the way, climb up the horse, go to the top, and then shift over to a pilot's job. Because what will happen is, if you don't have a master's license, you cannot work as a pilot in any port except only in Kolkata. So you're closing your doors for the other ports. Who knows, someday you would want to have a change, you would need a change, you want to move to another port, or you want to have your opportunities open. So in that case, having a master's license would be the ultimate to keep. You can have your doors open for trying any other job. So do that. Better to have your master's license. Even after your master's license, if you want to work in Kolkata, yes, you're most welcome. You can apply in Kolkata port and work here as a pilot.
That's really nice, ma'am. Heading on to the next question. My next question is, how is it like working as a crew member on board a ship?
See, I told you that coming to shipping itself was a complete unplanned surprise thing which happened. So when I applied for the course and I did my college time in Amit University, Chennai, I got a good idea of what life was going to be on board. With men around you and being the only woman on board. This was sort of like very, very easily correlatable to our college life itself, because we were only 5 girls at that time in the college, in the entire college, where the college has thousands of boys, and we were the only 5 girls. So we got a hint of how life on board was going to be when we were already in the college. But then when we went on board, we were always the only woman on board, only female cadet on board. But then it was still okay. It was not difficult. I did have my own fears. Everybody has their fears when they go on board their ships. First ship is always something the experience is something you can never forget all your life. I still remember when I first looked at the ship from a distance. for the first time I was taking an international flight, flying to US, flying to Newark, and from there the agent picks us up. I had another batchmate of mine who was joining me on the same ship. So we went, and from a distance also, I could not fit the whole. I remember this feeling that I can't fit the whole ship in my horizon. It's such a huge ship. She was a 280-meter ship. So I was completely taken by surprise and awe, despite knowing her size. When I actually got to see this ship, I was taken by surprise. I was completely taken. I was in a state of shock, in awe. What a wonderful piece of machinery mankind has made. And then life on board was pretty good, and it was not bad at all. 6 months I spent on that ship, and she was a very old ship that time. We had to hand over the vessel to another shipping company who was taking over that ship, who was buying the ship. It was we worked hardest on that ship, and we enjoyed the most on that ship because we worked like a bull and slept like babies. She was an old ship, 28 years at that time. I was 7-8 years younger than that ship at that time. So it was. I still remember that particular ship's time. Those 6 months were so exhilarating, so enjoyable. We worked a lot, we learnt a lot more than the boys and girls who went on the newer built ships. There were some of us went to brand new ships where the learning was much lesser than this one, where you had to really struggle with that old ship and learn things. I think I had the best time of my life because we were also a lot of Indian youngsters on that ship, like a lot of cadets. We had 2 senior cadets, 2 of us, and 2 Burmese engine cadets, and then two Indian 4th engineers. So we were like 8 of us were like, we were a riot. We did a riot on that ship. We had fun. We worked a lot. We worked really hard. I had a great time on that ship.
That is absolutely wonderful to know, ma'am. So heading on to my next question, why did you choose to become a maritime pilot in India?
See, when I went on board as a young cadet, the first thing, what do you do when you get on board? You would also agree with me. We all look for role models, right? We all need mentors. We all look for role models. We immediately idolize somebody whom we look up to, right? Whom we respect a lot. So when I went on board, I had great seniors. Some were not so great. I had a mix of all kinds of people around me. Some were very encouraging. Some were very they would give me a challenge. They would make it seem like a challenge, so I learned better. So I had different kinds of people whom I saw, different kinds of seniors. Now, when you go on board and look for a mentor, for an idol, you idolize. As a deck cadet, first thing I did was I idolized the master. He's the ultimate power on board. He says it and he commands the vessel. So I want to be this master one day. I want to be a captain one day. This went into my head, So I want to be a captain one day. And when I worked in the engine room, I was like, okay, chief engineer is the ultimate power in the engine room. I want to be a chief engineer one day, because I did a dual competency program. So I worked both on engine side and the deck side. So when I went to the engine room, immediately I thought, see, chief engineer, ultimate in the engine room. He or she knows everything and anything. And similarly, master captain knows anything and everything. They are like the ultimate. So this idolizing that person, that senior, it comes to you as a kid, as a youngster. I mean, I'm sure everybody has that, I think. So, but then as I was continuing to sail, I also saw that, masters of a ship look up to somebody else, which is when they go to a port and there is a pilot who comes on board. Moment the pilot embarks, the master sort of totally relies upon the pilot, usually asking them for advice, and they call the shots, when we are approaching port. They know everything about the ports. So it's like the master himself or herself, the captain himself or herself, looks up to somebody, and that somebody is a pilot. So I was like, oh, I want to be a pilot now, No, not this but that now. So it's like a bigger candy, I had a bigger candy in front of me, like chota apple, and there's a bigger apple. So I'm like, no, I want the ultimate, the pinnacle job. So at that time I did think that being a pilot is the pinnacle of the maritime industry. So I wanted to be it. Now when I got off the ship of my final ship as a cadet, and then I was giving my second mate's exams, I saw that this particular Kolkata Port Trust, the then Kolkata Port Trust, now called the Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Port, Kolkata. So this port was advertising for young officers, for junior officers, to become pilot, to train them and make them pilots. So I was surprised, because usually a pilot is a master who trains to become a pilot. So you need to have a captain's license. Now this port says that they will take junior officers and they will train them. Training is longer, much longer, definitely, because you are much less experienced. So you need more exposure. But then this seemed like a shortcut to me. I said, why not? I mean, I want to do this, and here's a shortcut. I'm going to take it. I mean, no second thoughts. Again, newspaper ad. These newspapers have saved my life. They've made my life, saved my life. So I immediately applied and I gave an interview, and they saw me fit for this and they hired me. And I joined as a trainee pilot in 2011. And 2018 January, I qualified as a pilot. I've been working independently ever since, and there couldn't have been a better journey for me. This has made me. This has given me the name and recognition and everything. This has made my life. This journey, and it all started. To think of it, it all started with a newspaper ad. Just that.
Well done, ma'am. Well done. So my next question goes like this, that as a female, how did you feel that the life is there in the shipping industry?
See, as a woman, as a female in the shipping industry, I have faced a lot of troubles. But these are not things which are impossible to fight and come beyond. I'm still here. I face difficulties, yes, I will not lie to you, but these are not difficulties which you cannot overcome or which you cannot jump over the hurdle and go. So there are issues like I said, acceptance is an issue. When you go on board, people will usually not look at the other gender who's a minority. They will not immediately come and support you. Not everybody is going to be fully supportive and they're going to be encouraging you from day one. It happens, it's a slow process, like I said. It takes time, but consistently if you work with them, prove yourself, prove your worth, and do your best in your for your given activities and your duties. If you do that, people will eventually come around. So that acceptance is a major problem which women face in shipping, but we are getting there. Things are getting better, and also a lot of women now, even Indian women, a lot of us are on board, a lot of girls are on board, a lot of women on board. So things are changing. People are getting used to the fact of having women colleagues on board with them, working with them, and they're warming up to it. I mean, it's not something very unusual today. Numbers are still less, but we are improving. And other problems as a woman, there are many, because many companies do not have the gender neutral policies and conduct regulations and things like that. I mean, the company does not have enough women specific policies or gender neutral policies. And even today, maternity is a challenge for women at sea, when they have to, a lot of times when they have to choose between having a career and having a child, which is not supposed to be the case. It shouldn't be happening, but then a lot of maternity discrimination does happen in some places, in some countries. Or for women, when they've had a child and they want to come back to shipping and go back to their ranks and start working again. Some companies do give a problem, but many companies are now changing their policies. They are accepting women who are coming back from their maternity break. So things are changing. There are many other difficulties also, but I won't say they are very difficult to come through. Today I am here, so if I can do it, any other woman can do it.
Thank you so much for answering that, ma'am. Heading on to my next question is that if you were able to go 10 years back from now, would you still choose shipping as a career for you?
You know what? This is the first time I've been asked such a question. This is a very clever question, but I've never answered this sort of a question. But I find it very intriguing and interesting that you asked now. See, I'm very happy and very content with my present job. As a pilot, I enjoy this job. I love being a pilot, because it's a very, very satisfying. It's a very satisfying job. End of every ship, every day there are different difficulties, different ship, different conditions, external and internal, different crew, different kinds of people, how they take your instructions or your advice or not. So everything is different each day. It never gets monotonous. But that said, this corona times, this COVID season, in the last 2 years, we human beings have realized a lot and lots of lessons, haven't we? So somewhere deep inside me, I think that today, how we idolize doctors and healthcare workers today. Maybe if you took me back 10 years, maybe I would, now that I know what they are doing for us today in today's scenario, and knowing how I idolize them today, I know seafarers are also frontline workers. They're doing a great job, but I really admire our doctors of today. So if I went back 10 years, having this experience which I have today, I might even say tata to shipping and may go back to medicine as a dream job. And who knows, I might choose to be Dr. Reshma today and serve more people, more human beings and humankind, be of a bigger service and help to people in such a pandemic situation. So yeah, if I went back, I think with this experience, if I had gone back, I would stick to my doctor profession.
That is absolutely wonderful and nice to know about that. What are the challenges that you faced as a maritime pilot in India?
See, challenges for maritime pilots are innumerable. I mean, can't count. There are so many things which change every day, and especially in our port, in Calcutta port. To begin with, let me tell you that the river Hooghly, the Calcutta and Haldia ports are in the river Hooghly, which is the river Ganges itself. So the river Hooghly is one of the most toughest navigable rivers in the world. I'm telling you this on record, This is one of the most difficult rivers to navigate on in the world. So our difficulties are tenfold when you compare it with any other seaport. They do not have the current, the tide range which we have, the current speed which we have. We have a current ranging from anywhere between 5 to 8 to 9 knots also sometimes. In Perigi Springs we have absolutely roaring tides. We have something called a very rare phenomenon called a bow tide. We have that here. We navigate on even on those days. And then we have very dwindling depths in this channel. The channel keeps shifting, the sandbars keep shifting seasonally and with every weather change, and the sandbars pose a threat to shipping. And the depth under keel clearance is very minimal in many bars. We have too many siltation sandbars which have regular siltation, and those places are difficult to navigate. And then Calcutta Channel is also a very narrow channel. Even Haldia for that matter, the channel is narrow. So there are so many of these factors which make a pilot's life difficult, but also these are difficulties also. But these are also the same factors which make my job interesting, because handling these different factors on an everyday basis, that also is challenging, and it never gets monotonous because of these reasons. Because each thing is a natural reason or some man-made reason, like different crew come to us, different nationalities, multilingual crew, and different types of ships, and different kind of people who take our advice differently. Somebody will hear me wrong, somebody will hear me okay, somebody can understand my accent, somebody cannot. So lots and lots of different factors and phenomena we see every day. So these are difficulties, but that's what we are trained to go over. I mean, we are trained as pilots to help the masters and the bridge team get to the port safely despite all these difficulties. So this is our job, to overcome these difficulties and get the ship to safety. So this is a part of the job. But now other difficulties for a maritime pilot would include bad weather is a big deterrent for us. In bad weather, climbing tall ships, climbing the ladder, embarking and disembarking by that little rope ladders, manila rope ladders or combination ladders, these are very tricky business. These are occupational hazards, which are pretty serious occupational hazards. And of course there are methods and there are ways to reduce, do a risk assessment, there are ways to reduce your dangers, but then every day cannot be your day. You can have a bad day, you can have a good day. So these are dangers which we work through every day, day in and day out. We overcome these occupational hazards. So that is also a difficulty. And also, like how your car or your home appliances in the house, they all break down, right? Suddenly kaput. So a ship is also a machinery, and it's a huge piece of machine, man-made machine. Now, just like how a car or your mixer grinder or your AC can break down, similarly everything on the ship, every machinery, even the main engine of a ship, everything can break down. So emergency handling, that is contingency planning and handling emergencies, these remain as our most difficult part of the job too, because we need to think like that. In a fraction of a second, your action could mean saving a ship or dooming a ship, So we are trained to save the ships from all these dangers, even in an emergency situation. Emergency maneuvers, emergency, contingency planning. All these are part of the job for us. So if an eventuality is confirmed, if you can't avoid it, at least we should know how to reduce the damage. So all this is part of the job, and this is all these are difficulties in the job. But if I can do it, like I said, if I can do it, anybody else can do it. And pilots around the world, everywhere, they do this for a living, and they all do it they ace it. Period. And that's how shipping is safe around the world today.
Right, ma'am. So my last and final question will be the most anticipated question of all times. Can you tell us a little bit about the salary?
This is a very tricky question, so I cannot reveal my salary figures to you. But all I can say is, pilots in Indian ports, we are not that greatly paid. Like pilots in countries abroad in the Western world, pilots are paid very, very handsomely, and many places pilots work on a profit share basis, or they lease out the port area and they are a firm themselves. So many of these countries, pilots are very, very handsomely paid. In India, pilots' wages, I could safely say that pilots get, you have to lose one to get one. So I think because you get that family time, because you get that ship and shore balance, because you get your family time and ship time both together, these are perks. So because you get these perks, you have to lose something, which is a good wages, a good salary. Like you will probably be downsizing your salary by 1/3 or 1/4 of what you earn on board as a master. So your salary, it depends on whether you work for a government port or private port and all that. There's a big huge difference between the salaries in government and private sector and all. All I can say is you could be earning anything from third mate's license. You could be earning anything between a third mate's salary for junior pilots to you can be earning something like a second mate's salary or a coastal mate, chief mate's salary when you become very, very senior pilot. I think so. And I'm just wild guessing here, but this is the comparison I can give you.
So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so that I can bring in more and more ship related videos to you. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day and bye bye.